Good evening. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncover No More. I am delving deeply into Aurora Leigh by Elizabeth Barrett-Browning. It's 9 books. And so I have these 3 backpacks. I've had one of them for a couple of years, and it was actually vandalized. But now, 2 years later, it's getting a little better. I'm not getting hit with so much stuff as much anymore, at least right now. And got 2 more of the exact same backpack, because it's a rolling backpack to keep my magic and what books I'm reading in separate compartments, because some things just seem to go with other things, and I can't really explain that. For instance, well, I'll explain what happened today. I can have conversations with people in the spirit realms, and Elizabeth Barrett-Browning and I have a lot in common in some zones. And so we have discussions. I start to get to know the immortals, which is not something that you can scientifically explain. You can explain it spiritually. It is a part of the Bible record. So I'm not outside of the realm of reality. But if you disagree with that, just leave. It's fine. I don't even need to forgive you. I get it. But she wanted to be with a certain philosopher, Carl Jung, J-U-N-G. And I've talked about him, I think, once or twice, because I have a friend at a coffee shop who recommended one of his books, because my son Patrick has also read Mr. Jung, and he's told me, Mom, he's very wordy. And the book that the gentleman recommended to me is one of his last books, and is to the point. It's very dense, which means I read the first paragraph and already got some artwork through some runes, because it was so dense with meaning. And so today I've got so for whatever reason, Elizabeth Barrett-Browning wanted to be with Mr. Jung, and I think I had Emerson. Oh my goodness, I've got a book by Emerson. And he's going to need to wait in the wings, because he's very dense as well. And Emerson wrote both poetry and commentary. And his life story and my life story have a lot in common. So I may very well put him with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who is very, very practical with his poetry. Very practical. Very relevant in modern day. I don't give a fuck that they didn't have the IT world at that time. The philosophy, the poetry is the same. Just like, I am in the Bible is same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, a lot of people I knew in my past, in other words, I'm not seeing these friends as much anymore, enjoyed Friedrich Nietzsche, and I took him down, because he doesn't incorporate women. He sees people as two types of humanity. And while I agree with that, making one to be lesser than the other is not something I'm going to put up with in anybody. Christianity itself still has a problem with that. So, why would I want that in my new materials as a 57-year-old who's been a Christian since I was 7 years old, which means it's been 50 years, and I am sick of their bullshit. You know, I don't want to do it their way anymore. Their way doesn't work philosophically. So, anyway, Aurora Leigh is a gorgeous poem, and I've got 9 books to do, so I'm learning to go just a little faster, but faster really isn't a good word for philosophers like Mr. Jung and poets, people like Elizabeth and Robert Barrett-Browning. And so Robert Browning will automatically go with philosophers like Carl Jung, J-U-N-G. But in other words, I will keep that in the same backpack. So I think tonight I'm going to put Emerson with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Lady Bird Johnson. So there's going to actually be 3 of them in that backpack. And I think that's going to go with my mini mandala for my children, because I want my children to be infused away from Christian rhetoric that they were forced to live with through their parents and have had to carve out a new life and continue to have to carve out a new life, with religion being something that we have to form differently. We must form it differently. And something that came forth in the first book, at the first of Aurora Leigh, and that is that her mother died at the age of 4, which I didn't know until I began to read this particular poem. She point blank says that this poem, this 9 books, is about her. She writes her life story into it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And is very identifiable, at least to women. If you're humble enough as a man, you can, which means you will own your own emotions. In this day and age, that's very difficult to do for some. And I do think that the IT world has something to do with how we are disconnected from our emotions. That's not me. I'm being kind to say we here. That's the biggest problem I have as a sorceress, is everybody is disconnected from their emotions, and I'm not. And it's caused a tremendous amount of damage metaphysically in my life. So I'm having to learn to do something. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm taking one day at a time, because this has gotten way too hard for me. Because I came in the middle for the sake of my children, past all the religious tendency to be stricter and scared for them and all the negative narrative I've heard about things. You know, I encouraged them to have good relationships with their gaming friends and stuff like that. I never looked down on any of it, and I tried to be there for them. And I don't know whether they felt I was a success or not. I just don't even know, because I'm not thinking that way, and I never will. I have no ability to think that way, and that's where it's become very difficult with older people too in my life. So I'm thinking through all of this, but that was the point with Elizabeth Barrett-Browning, and I can tell it's going to help me heal some things that I didn't have any control of how other people were going to relate to me. Okay, I didn't have any control of that my whole life. And, you know, here I am sitting on a return testimony of the King of Kings and moving on in the New Jerusalem as Tribe Judah elect, but I'm a Gentile this time. And there's specific things I've had to do. And Elizabeth Barrett-Browning is in the spirit realms talking to me, saying, okay, you're going to do this too, because C.J. Young Carl Jung is a huge breakthrough for me. as far as philosophy, because he knows his shit. Just like Rudolf Steiner. And Rudolf Steiner, I need to strengthen my core metaphysically. So that's why I have these 3 backpacks, because I need to work my spirit and avoid any contact with people from the past and the current that are negative about me. And I'm not talking about my children. My children were separated from me because of the attack upon me. And we're going to be stronger for it. I've had 2 witnesses give me some hope, because I've lost hope so many times, because things just kept going and I just kept getting attacked by people older than me. And that's because I've got people in my life, and Elizabeth Barrett-Browning, see, again, she's talking to me because she dealt with the same thing in her father. And I just released a blog article where she talks about her father, and she talks about what the deal is. And he was very firmly an alpha male in the patriarchy type stuff. He didn't want any of his children to marry. The fact that he lost his wife and the mother of his children when Elizabeth Barrett was 4 years old embittered him. And that is what this is about. And this is going to go in the second blog article that I released with Aurora Leigh. How you process crisis will affect other people. And I've got people in my life who want to pretend that they're not affecting other people. They're so far in reality, I'm broken. See, if you won't accept that you are a part, you can't. Americans are very independent. Very. See, Elizabeth Barrett-Browning had no ability to be independent. I've had no ability to be independent. I have people in my life bitter because they don't want interdependence. And when hard things happen, they have no ability to process their emotions and come out hugging trees and understanding how to take a deep breath and allow healing to occur. And there's millions of Christians struggling with this right here. And they're basically, there is a collective consciousness that the King of Kings is in America. There's a collective consciousness. People know, and then get angry, and my dragon side comes out, because my dragon side comes out. If I had any other reaction having the ministry that I have, it would be anathema to my own self, you see, because I know your core, adult, Christian, Catholic, Muslim. I know your core, and you've got a good religious core. What's the matter with you? What was the matter with Elizabeth Barrett's father? That he would go to the point of being somebody who misuses his power and not allow them to get married. Now, Robert Browning came in and was the literal savior of Elizabeth Barrett, but she was saving him some too. She understood him in a way that he'd never been understood before, and that's pure gold for not just men, women as well. But not when you're connected to somebody who's not open, who demands to be more self-made. Demanding to be self-made in this day and age, you're going to hurt people who love you. And we'll keep loving you. That's what we do. And see, I'm not talking about criminal society here. I'm talking about genteel society. I'm talking about those of us that have done house church and have gone to church faithfully and all of that. See, you ruffle their feathers, in my case, with the actual return of the King of Kings, who's a person too. And what do I get? Just about the same thing he got, but people aren't hanging people on crosses in the small A America I'm talking about, if you know what I mean. And this isn't funny to me, but I'm just being honest. And yet we have the power in our neighborhoods. We have the power in our homes. We have the human love ability to stop this cancer. This is not COVID, okay? This is a cancer of the soul. And I guess I'm gonna be making some videos. This will go on my second largest YouTube, the one that I actually fund because I also listen to the music. Hans Zimmer is really taking me away right now. Because I am going to talk about modern day as I am privileged to read a 9-book poem from a woman who was an invalid, whose father loved her, but was disconnected of his own free will. And we've got a lot of that in our society now. And yes, I do think that the IT world has not helped that, but what my message is you also cannot use that as an excuse, any of us. I tend towards not using it that much, but I also tend towards feeling like a completely stupid person because I'm not educated in it. That's where the society is. I've just known for years not to give in to the labeling of myself in my head because of how hard strict cultishness is. I just know how to do it, but I can tell you this, I'm so tired of having to do it. And I am broken because I'm a person too. And why won't you help me heal if you know me? Now I want you to turn and ask yourself how many people are like Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. Yes, I'm going to keep going for the love of love. But all I can hear right at the moment is a grand selfishness. It's a grand selfishness going on in this country. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More.